Have you ever wondered why it took the world's most powerful intelligence agencies nearly a decade to find one man? The hunt for Osama bin Laden wasn't just a high-stakes game of hide-and-seek. It was a complex puzzle that baffled even the sharpest minds. Today, we're diving deep into the reasons why the founder of al-Qaeda was so incredibly elusive. It's a story of cunning strategy, cultural barriers, and a world before everyone had a smartphone in their pocket. After the devastating attacks of September 11, 2001, finding bin Laden became the #1 priority for the United States. The initial focus was on the rugged, mountainous region of Tora Bora in Afghanistan. US forces, backed by local Afghan allies, launched a massive assault, believing they had him cornered. But bin Laden, a seasoned guerrilla fighter from his days battling the Soviets, slipped through their fingers. How he knew the terrain like the back of his hand. The Tora Bora cave complex was a natural fortress, a labyrinth of tunnels and passages that he and his fighters had used for years. While American forces relied on air power and conventional tactics, bin Laden used his knowledge of the ground to simply vanish into the mountains, likely escaping into Pakistan. This early failure was a crucial lesson. This wouldn't be a conventional war. One of the biggest hurdles was bin Laden's complete rejection of modern technology. Think about how we live our lives today. Our phones track our location, our emails can be intercepted, and our digital footprints are everywhere. Bin Laden understood this vulnerability long before most of us did. He operated in a state of total electronic silence. No phone calls, no emails, no internet usage whatsoever. He knew that any electronic signal could be a beacon leading his enemies straight to him. Instead, he relied on the oldest form of communication, human couriers. This method was slow, cumbersome, and required immense trust, but it was also incredibly secure. Messages were written down, sometimes encrypted, and physically carried by a trusted individual from bin Laden to his lieutenants and back again. This created a massive intelligence black hole. Analysts couldn't just tap a phone line. They had to identify, track, and hopefully capture these couriers, a task that was needle in a haystack difficult. Then there's the human element. Bin Laden wasn't hiding alone in a cave for 10 years. He was protected by a network of loyal followers and sympathizers. In the tribal regions of Pakistan, along the border with Afghanistan, a complex web of local customs and loyalties played a huge role. The Pashtunwali Code, an unwritten ethical code of the Pashtun people, places a huge emphasis on providing asylum and hospitality, even to a fugitive. Betraying a guest is considered a profound dishonor. This cultural shield made it incredibly difficult for outsiders to gather intelligence. Offering a multi-million-dollar reward was one thing, but convincing someone to betray their deeply held cultural values and risk violent reprisal from al-Qaeda or its allies was another challenge entirely. For many in the region, he wasn't just a terrorist. He was seen by some as a figure resisting foreign intervention. This local support system provided him with safe houses, food, and, most importantly, silence. His operational security, or OPSEC, was legendary. He was disciplined and meticulous. He reportedly moved frequently, never staying in one place for too long, at least in the earlier years. He kept his circle of trust incredibly small. Only a handful of people knew his actual location at any given time. This compartmentalization was key. If one part of his network was compromised, the rest would remain secure. He also understood the power of misinformation. Al-Qaeda would release videos and audio messages from bin Laden, but these were carefully managed. They were often recorded and then held for weeks or even months before being released through a courier to a media outlet. This made it impossible to use the release of a tape to pinpoint his current location. The metadata, the location data, the timing, all of it, was deliberately obscured. He was a ghost in the machine, a voice without a body. The physical environment itself was a massive advantage for him. The Afghanistan-Pakistan border is one of the most inhospitable and ungoverned regions on Earth. We're talking about towering mountains, deep valleys, and a near-total lack of infrastructure. It's a place where central government authority is weak, and local tribes hold the real power. For a foreign intelligence agency, operating in this environment is a nightmare. Satellite imagery can only tell you so much. You need human intelligence, people on the ground. But recruiting and running agents in such a hostile and closed-off society is fraught with danger. Informants could be double agents, or they could be discovered and executed. Every piece of information had to be painstakingly verified, a process that could take months or even years. As the years went by, the hunt evolved. Intelligence agencies shifted their strategy from a broad search to a more focused approach. They realized the key wasn't finding bin Laden directly, but finding his support system. The breakthrough came when they started focusing intensely on his courier network. Interrogations of captured al-Qaeda members eventually pointed them towards one man, a courier known by the kunya, or nam de guerre, Abu Ahmed al-Kuwaiti. He was described as one of bin Laden's most trusted confidants. This was the thread that would eventually unravel the entire mystery. For years, the CIA hunted for this courier. They listened to every scrap of intelligence, followed every lead, trying to find this one man in a world of billions. Finally, in 2010, they got a lucky break. A monitored phone call from a different suspect mentioned al-Kuwaiti. This allowed intelligence agents to locate him in a busy area of Peshawar, Pakistan. What followed was a classic piece of old-school surveillance. Agents followed al-Kuwaiti's vehicle, a white Suzuki Jeep, day after day, week after week. They traced his movements, which eventually led them to a large, unusual compound in Abbottabad, a quiet, affluent city that hosts a major Pakistani military academy. This was not the remote cave they had been expecting. The compound was an anomaly. It was far larger than any of the surrounding homes, with towering 18-foot walls topped with barbed wire. It had no phone lines and no internet connection. The residents burned their trash instead of having it collected, and most tellingly, despite its size and value, it was registered to a man who had no official source of income to afford it, Ibrahim al-Kuwaiti, the courier's brother. For months, the CIA watched the compound. They used satellites and stealth drones to gather information, trying to confirm who was inside. They measured the shadows of a tall, unidentified man who would pace in the courtyard, a man they nicknamed the Pacer. His height matched bin Laden's. They analyzed every detail, building a circumstantial case. There was no single piece of smoking gun evidence, but the mountain of small, strange facts all pointed to one conclusion. Bin Laden was likely inside that compound. He had hidden not in a cave, but in plain sight, using a fortress of his own making in the middle of a city. His strategy had shifted from blending into the rugged wilderness to hiding behind high walls and extreme secrecy, relying on his trusted couriers as his only link to the outside world. The decision to launch the raid was a huge gamble, based entirely on this circumstantial intelligence. But after nearly a decade of searching, it was the best lead they had ever had. On May 2, 2011, Navy SEALs stormed the compound, and the world's longest and most expensive manhunt came to a dramatic end. The story of why Osama bin Laden was so hard to find is a testament to his discipline, his understanding of his enemy's strengths and weaknesses, and his ability to exploit cultural and geographical landscapes. It was a low-tech man against a high-tech world, and for almost 10 years, the low-tech man had the upper hand. It forced a complete rethink of intelligence gathering and counterterrorism, lessons that are still being applied to this day. Thanks for watching. This story is a fascinating look into the complexities of modern conflict. If you found this interesting, be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into historical events. Let us know in the comments what other topics you'd like us to cover. See you next time.